and welcome to the Rangers News YouTube channel. My name is Cameron Willis, and after Rangers made their long-standing partnership with HAL SV Hamburg official, I thought I'd do a wee video looking at all the clubs who have historic links to Rangers, and some of them are a bit newer, some of them are a bit older, but yeah, all the teams who throughout history have had a link to Ibrox. Now, before we get started, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help us grow. Also, if you like the video, please click like, and if you've got any experience of any of the clubs that I'm about to highlight in this video, or at least Rangers' relationship with them, please leave a comment below and let me know. I think all fans would like to hear more about these partnerships. Yeah, so where better to start than with the partnership that was announced last week, or at least made official last week, between Rangers and Hamburger SV, or HSV Hamburg. The story goes that this link up originates from the 1970s and Glaswegian dock workers who travelled to Hamburg, which is also a kind of port city, and set up a Rangers supporters club, and because of the similarities of the club and the two clubs and the kind of friendship between the supporters, the relationship began to kind of grow and build over the years. It was multiplied and kind of magnified in the 90s when George Alberts, who is a Hamburg legend, joined Rangers and obviously transformed into a Rangers legend, and he continues to be a kind of symbol of the two clubs' friendship to this day. I think it's a partnership that all Rangers fans, or many Rangers fans, have always known about and would maybe like to explore a little bit more, or there have already been plenty who have explored it already. Me personally, I've actually been to the Volksparkstadion. I went to see Hamburg in the second division, which they still are, but they're going better this season and could potentially earn promotion. But I went and they got beat 3-0 off Ingolstadt, and the stadium was not happy. And I think that experience to me opened my eyes a wee bit to the link up between the clubs. There are a lot of similarities, it has to be said, and the real feeling that they were down in the doldrums there, and they're obviously a well-established and historically influential German club. They're former European Cup winners, and they're a big deal in Germany. They've got massive support, and like Rangers, they kind of they're having a bit of a resurgence after a kind of lull in their history. Hopefully get promotion back to the top flight now, but yeah, when I went to see them, it really did have the feeling of like Ali McCoy's championship season, and there was a lot of similarities, and the most striking thing though was how welcoming the fans were. Like, I went, had a Rangers top on, everybody was clicking beer cans with me. There was Hamburg fans with Rangers tops on, in the crowd. You see those like kind of black and blue Union Jacks, and yeah, the friendship is certainly strong. And similarly in Glasgow, I've seen plenty of Hamburg fans coming over here to watch Rangers matches and try and experience like the old firm and stuff, and I think this partnership will allow fans to explore that relationship a little bit more. And at the end of the day, if all it does is host a pre-season friendly in Hamburg and a pre-season friendly in Glasgow every season, I don't think fans will complain about it. I think that will be a very, very welcome kind of party in the post-COVID world, and it's a partnership that we can get excited about, particularly because old friends Hamburg are on their way back to the top in Germany, and that's exactly where they belong. The next club, I think all Rangers fans are aware have a link to the club, is Northern Irish side Linfield. Now, like Rangers, they have a rich and storied history. They're defined by trophies, Linfield, and that kind of winning mentality is a similarity that's shared between the two clubs, and it's obviously not the only one. I think it's clear that the relationship is strengthened by the fact that both sides have historically represented and been supported by kind of Protestant, Unionist, Loyalist communities in Scotland and Northern Ireland, which obviously has historic links anyway. I think I grew up with this relationship, being half Northern Irish, and I think it's a prominent one which all Rangers fans know and are well aware of. And I think it's part of the reason why Rangers have such a strong foothold in Northern Ireland. Rangers are obviously well supported across the water, and yeah, they will remain so. They've got huge influence over there, and Linfield and Rangers kind of kinship is maybe just a kind of part of that. Rangers have obviously got a rich kind of Ulster identity and Ulster history, and obviously that's carried through today with players like Stephen Davis playing for the team, who's obviously the Northern Irish captain. And the historic link with Linfield has always been there. David Healy even now is the manager, and he's a former Rangers player, but perhaps over the course of the last few seasons we haven't seen it as much. Of course, Rangers used to always play Linfield in a pre-season friendly. We haven't seen that in a while. It was never always a full-strength team, but I think it was a bit of a party for the supporters that travelled over to Northern Ireland to watch it. And it's a relationship that will always be there. I think it's a relationship that, whilst maybe it's not as prominent and both clubs have focused on themselves in recent years, I don't think that it's gone anywhere, and that kind of loud respect remains. And I think Rangers and Linfield are two clubs, the Blues Brothers as they're called, that I think will always have a kind of cultural kinship and a footballing respect. When you talk about the link between Rangers and Linfield, the next most obvious place to go is Premier League giants Chelsea. Now, there's never been any kind of official link between Rangers and Chelsea, but I do know for a fact that some of my Rangers supporting pals support Chelsea as well, and I've met some Chelsea fans that also support Rangers. So there is a link and a kinship and a friendship between the supporters, but I don't know how widespread it is, and I don't know how big it is. I think that there's definitely a wee bit of a subculture within Rangers to support Chelsea as well, and why the hell not? Me personally, I am not a Chelsea fan. I don't particularly care what happens at Chelsea, but I remember a few seasons ago we had a pre-season friendly with them, and Sibo famously scored, and obviously their top goal scorer Frank Lampard is an own Rangers supporter, and there's a few kind of wee things that are shared between the sides, but I think it maybe comes down to that kind of British identity thing again, and the kind of historic British identity between both sides and both sets of fans. So there is a link there. I don't think it's as celebrated maybe now as it once was, but I do think that there's a quiet respect between Rangers fans and some Chelsea fans. Another side on the continent with kind of more modern links to Rangers than Hamburg is Spanish outfit Espanyol. Maybe a few years ago you will remember stories going about Espanyol fans travelling to Ibrox to see Rangers, and Rangers being the club's second team, and I think there have been a few Rangers fans who have done the opposite journey. Most of it, I think, stems from the fact that Espanyol are like Spanish royalists in Catalonia and everything that goes on there with their kind of march for independence and all the troubles that come with it. I think Espanyol have similarities with Rangers in their loyalties to kind of royalty, or at least the perceived loyalties to royalty, or the historic loyalties to royalty. And I think they also both wear blue, which helps, and Celtic's kind of love-in with Barcelona, I think, has thrust Espanyol fans towards Rangers as well. It's maybe not as big here, but there's certainly a feeling of it in Spain, if reports are to be believed, and maybe it's a relationship which will grow bigger as the years go. I don't know, but if you've been to Espanyol to watch the team, or you've kind of experienced the friendship, then please let us know below, because it's something I certainly would like to find out more about. One of the newer clubs to develop links with Rangers is all the way on the other side of the planet, and specifically the Indian subcontinent and Bengaluru FC. Now, when we signed this partnership deal with Bengaluru FC a couple of years ago, they were the Indian Super League champions. Obviously, India has a population of over 1 billion people, and if you're gearing up with the Indian Super League champions, you're kind of doing something right in terms of marketing. And not only that, since then Rangers have gone on to kind of snare the Scottish broadcasting rights for Indian Super League games. And whilst that might sound like a wee bit of nothing right now, there's definitely potential for that to grow in the future. I think Rangers have done well with this partnership. I think this is an emerging football nation. I think football is obviously now a global sport, and after nearly a decade in the kind of doldrums, and with Rangers really struggling and requiring modernisation, I don't think there was a club as big as Rangers that needed that kind of modern revamp more than us. And I think that now that we're in the midst of it, and really in the middle of it, and it's really ramping up, and a marketing department, a communications department, and a partnerships department is really kind of making strides. I think this will stand as a strong partnership in the future. As for Bengaluru, I don't know very much about them, but the fact that they are a former Premier Division winners, they are from a country with a humongous population and a growing thirst for football, makes me quite excited about it. And yeah, hopefully there will be some kind of link up, or more prominent link up in the future. Bengaluru, in terms of the teams playing each other, Bengaluru are obviously not the only Indian link up Rangers have either. They of course signed Indian superstar female footballer Bala Devi to the women's team, and that put in even more attention onto Rangers. And it's not just because she was Indian, it's also because she's a good player and very highly rated footballer. So yeah, Rangers are making strides in that part of the world, and this is a new relationship and a new partnership, but let's see how quickly it can grow and how far it takes us. Similarly to the partnership with Bengaluru, we have announced another one, this time on the other side of the planet in the United States of America, with the very aptly named Orange County. The Californian club operate in what is effectively the American second tier, but they have heady ambitions at home and abroad, and Rangers reportedly beat off competition from a host of clubs around Europe to sign the deal, so it was a very lucrative move. Again, this is, from a marketing perspective, a very intelligent move. Rangers obviously already have a bit of a foothold in Northern America with things like NARSA and all the supporters clubs that exist throughout the US and Canada, but having a kind of footballing partner there where we can send players, and some players come to us, some players go there, is an exciting one. And again, as Orange County kind of develop and grow, and football develops and grows in America, this could be a potentially lucrative partnership for Rangers. So yeah, it's very exciting. We've already seen some of our youth players go across to the US, and what an experience that would be for them on the west coast of America, playing football for a season. I mean, it's absolutely incredible for a kind of Rangers Academy youngster, and something which would make our academy particularly attractive. Similarly, I think Aaron Cervantes is a goalkeeper. I think he came to Rangers on trial from there. So yeah, there is talent in America, and this gives us a kind of base, a HQ, a place to operate out of, and hopefully it's a partnership that once again can kind of benefit both sides, and maybe kind of we can kind of get together and play a friendly at some point. But yeah, they're also very prominent on social media and very kind of proud of the link up, so that's great to see, and hopefully this is the beginning of something special with Orange County. The next name might come as a surprise to some fans, because it certainly came as a surprise to me when I was told about it. Obviously, football is the lifeblood of South America. It's what all the countries are so passionate about, but incredibly Scotland has a massive influence in that history. I think there was a guy called McAllister who went to a World Cup with Argentina. I think it's argued that a Scotsman brought football to Brazil, and a guy called Juan Greenstreet, I think was his name, which is the most un-Scottish name ever, but it's claimed that he's Scottish, founded a team in Chile who are still playing. They play in the Chilean second division, called Talca de Rangers. They play in black and red. There's not much information about this, but on their Wikipedia page, it claims they play in black and red because they are the colours of Govan, which is obviously the same colours as our socks. And this was actually told to me by a guy in a bar in Hamburg, no less. When I went to see Rangers play in Hamburg, as I told you earlier in the video, I met a Chilean guy. We went out for a couple of drinks with him and his Russian pal, and I was speaking to him about football while I was there. He asked me what team I support. I said Rangers. He was like, Rangers. I was like, yeah. He's like, Talca de Rangers. And incredibly, I could not give the guy a response. I had never heard of this before, but he was adamant that in Talca, the town where he is from, this is how I came to know this, that this is celebrated, the fact that they have a link to Rangers, and it was founded by a Scotsman, must have been a Blue Nose. The colours are Govan, called Rangers. It's all too convenient. So yeah. Again, that's a relationship that I would like to know more about, and if anybody has explored it, please comment below. But what an amazing story, that there's a football club across the other side of the world named after us that a lot of fans do not know about. Not a lot of people know this, but there are actually serious historic links between Rangers and Aston Villa, or should I say Aston Villa and Rangers. Aston Villa were created, or the modern day Aston Villa was kind of visualised and created by a Scottish guy called William McGregor, and he's actually immortalised by the club in a statue outside Villa Park. When he kind of came to Aston Villa, he revolutionised the side, made it into a modern football club of that age, and kind of transformed it into the club that we know today. If you look at the Aston Villa badge, it's actually a blue line rampant, which would hint to kind of Scottish kind of heritage, but it's also the exact same line rampant that appears on the Rangers Ready crest. Interestingly as well, the Aston Villa motto is prepared, which sounds eerily similar to Ready, which is the Rangers motto. And yeah, there's definitely been some kind of influence, or at least reportedly, between McGregor, Rangers and Villa. So yeah, whilst that kind of link between the two might not be shared as much, I mean, I know there are a few Rangers fans who follow Aston Villa and vice versa. There is always going to be a historic link between the two sides because of their kind of proud former founder. Another English club with historic links to Rangers are none other than the Britannia Stadium's Stoke City, and the reason for this is still celebrated to this day, remarkably. Rangers were invited to play a friendly with Stoke City by their then owner Sir Francis Joseph back in the 1930s, in the immediate aftermath of the Holditch coal mining disaster, in which over 30 people died. Rangers, managed by Bill Struth, duly obliged, took a team down south, raised £2,000 for the relief fund, and as a thank you, Sir Francis gave Rangers one of the Loving Cups. Now, he commissioned the Loving Cups to celebrate the reign of King George, or the coronation of King George, gave one to every single team in the division, gave a few others elsewhere. I think now there's only 5 in circulation. Rangers have one of them, and as a condition of receiving the Loving Cup, Sir Francis asked that Rangers toast the reigning monarch every year, or on the New Year's Day game every year. And yeah, since then Rangers have maintained the tradition. Now obviously it's a bit controversial for some in the media, but I don't think Rangers particularly care. I don't think Rangers fans do. The Loving Cup is a kind of proud tradition of Rangers, and one which I think will live long in our history and in our future. Way back in 2004, Rangers announced a 3-year partnership with Chinese Super League side Shenzhen. Now this was particularly ahead of the curve, especially when you look at the last kind of 5 to 6 years in China and the kind of money that's flying around and the investment that's going into the game there. And I think most fans will instantly recognise this from the kind of scroll crest and the orange tops of that era, and they were very, very popular and loads of Rangers fans bought them up. I think the partnership originally was with the intention of snaring the best Chinese players that came through Shenzhen's youth department, or at least having links in the country should any players emerge, and in return they would get international kind of friendlies with Rangers, and they would also get kind of training and coaching expertise. But for one reason or another, this partnership kind of fell apart. It's difficult to find what really happened to it, but it's a shame, particularly when you look now at Rangers moving into India and Rangers moving into America. It would have been really interesting if we'd managed to hold on to this partnership, but given the madness in the last decade or so, it probably would have been unrealistic anyway. But a cool wee kind of historic partnership, maybe one you guys will have forgotten about. Whilst it was the first time that we moved into China, maybe it won't be the last, and maybe Rangers could have a return there. I know that we're doing soccer schools in the region, and yeah, maybe with it being such a fast emerging footballing country with a huge population, maybe that will be somewhere Rangers will look to target next, be it with Shenzhen again or another football club. Yet another English club with historic links to Rangers, which might come as a surprise to some fans, considering that we're probably more closely aligned with Chelsea normally in kind of popular culture, but that is with Arsenal, and the link to Arsenal goes back way beyond any kind of modern link to Chelsea. It goes back to 1910 when Woolwich Arsenal, I think that was their name, were toiling financially, and Rangers came to their aid by buying or purchasing 2 shares as part of a share issue to help them stay afloat. About 20 years later, Arsenal would give Rangers a further 14 as a kind of act of gratitude and to say thanks for Rangers' financial assistance, and Rangers held the shares all the way up until the takeover of Craig White. You know, I mean, I'm kind of chuckling here, but either laugh or cry. It is really, really tragic what happened. He would sell them to like a Russian millionaire or something, and end that kind of 100-year relationship between the two clubs, and what was a really kind of tragic move on his part, and if anything, summed up the kind of heartlessness and ruthlessness that he had when he came into Rangers. But yeah, it's an old relationship which had a few friendlies in the past, and one which was kind of celebrated and held in mutual respect for a long, long time. And it is a real shame that the shysters and the charlatans that come into Rangers have put an end to that kind of relationship by selling the shares, and because it isn't as widely known or as widely attributed to each club, this relationship, maybe it's something that isn't kind of publicised enough, and maybe it won't be because we no longer hold the shares. It's a real shame. Ali McCoist in particular was very angry about the shares being sold, and yes, it's a kind of blemish and a sad outcome to what could have potentially been a very positive kind of tale in Rangers history. Now obviously these are only the most prominent football clubs linked to Rangers. There are a host of clubs across the planet linked to Rangers, not least just in Scotland with Cambuslang Rangers, you know, and other kind of subsects of Rangers fans that have formed amateur clubs or semi-professional clubs around the country. So yeah, it's not Rangers have links to teams across the world. Ajax is another one that gets loosely mentioned. Down south, teams like West Ham, Manchester City, even Liverpool, and not just because of the Steven Gerrard connection. There are historic links between Liverpool and Glasgow, and I think Liverpool and Celtic was a thing for a while, probably because they both have the same anthem, but historically Liverpool have been like the Rangers of Liverpool, and Everton have been like the Celtic of Liverpool. So it's there are loads of links. These are just ones that I think are more prominent and ones that are kind of more widely explored in this day and age, or maybe just a little bit niche. But yeah, if you have any other football clubs that you know that are linked to Rangers, if you have any more kind of information about any of the ones that I have mentioned, or yeah, you found this video interesting, then please just leave a comment below. Also like, also subscribe, and yeah, hopefully at one point I can do a tour of all these football clubs and see what the reaction is. But so far, when I went to go and see Rangers against Hamburg, it was a wholly positive experience, even if they did get beat. So yeah, if you get the chance, go and explore these relationships, go and ask about it, and yeah, kind of fly the Rangers flag at home and abroad. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed it. We'll be back this week with more kind of news, views and opinions on Rangers. So yeah, again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so now. Thank you so much for watching, and mon the Rangers.